Hi, welcome to Last Month TV. In this episode, we are bringing you the Reader's Hub monthly book discussion, and the book for this month is Meeting That Gets Results. The book is reviewed by Mr. Faisal Mudi Kurfi of the Reader's Hub and brought to you by Last Month TV. The scenario took place at Lulu Lab here in Katsina State. Join us and watch how the full scenario took place.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Faisal Mudi. I'm the Secretary General of the Readers Hub. And today we had a very productive meeting where we discussed our book of the month. The book of the month is titled Meeting That Gets Results, authored by Brian Tracy. This book essentially is discussing about how we can conduct a very productive meeting. It started from how we can organize the meeting, how you can deliver the meeting, how you can conduct the meeting, how you can follow up after the meetings through the decisions that you have taken during the meetings to ensure that these decisions are implemented. The book is just a little over 100 pages and it was published in 2016. Part of some of the lessons that I have learned from the book is the issue of making contributions when you are invited to a meeting. He gave out a scenario whereby a meeting was organized for executive of a particular company. Some managers were invited to the meeting, and during the course of the deliberations, some of these executives were unable or were shy to make their own contributions. So these managers, they seize the opportunity and they make valid contributions. They ask tough questions during the meeting. And after the meeting, because of these actions they taken during the meeting, they were promoted to the positions of vice president. This shows that it's very, very important for you when you are invited to a meeting. It doesn't matter whether you are above or below rank, as long as you are part of the meeting, ensure that you make valid contributions to that particular meeting. Then, during the course of the discussion, another member took out different perspective from the book. Review how we do meet every day, 5 times a week, 5 times a day with our Lord during our prayer sessions. And during these meetings, we make our own request, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the chairman of that particular meeting, he decides whether to accept or delay our request. So this shows that meetings are essential in our everyday life, it's essential for our religion, and it's essential for our development and progress. So this is entirely what the book is talking about, and I encourage members to read this particular book and to come for these discussions, and I hope to see you again next week or next month. Thank you very much. It's always a challenge. We do share books and we have reviews here, but usually when we come to the review that you realize that maybe a tiny percentage of members here read the book. So I also like to ask again, how many of us have read the book? Part of the book. Okay. So not completed. At least you've read, so you have an idea what the book is. Okay, Zubair, you've read. So that's 3 of us. Then plus me, that's maybe 4. So we have to do better. This book is just maybe 100, just a little bit. It's not even up to 100 pages, because the final concluding part is just some references, index, and what have you. So maybe the content of the book is not more than, not more than 85 pages. So if you sit, you can read this book in a day. Or if you are a beginner, in a week or 2. If you read 10 pages, that's 10 days, right? Or not even up to 10 days. That's just a little over a week. So, and when we have a very good number of members that have read the book, it makes the discussion better. Now I'm just going to give out my insight or what I have learned from the book. But if many of us here have read the book, they will counter some of the ideas I'm presenting, and this improves the quality of the review and the discussion. So if you have any particular book that you feel that it will improve our reading, then you can always make the suggestion so that we can carry everyone along, not just that us, the ESCOs, we are doing our thing on the one side and members are on the other side. So let's improve and read all the books that we are recommending. So now back to the review. Do you remember when Nigeria got independence? Which year was Nigeria got independence? 1960, right? But before 1960, something happened, right? There was a constitutional review, a conference that was held in United Kingdom in 1957. And that meeting gave birth to the federal constitution that we are currently using here in Nigeria. Not exactly the same, but it gave Nigeria the current federal structure. Sir Ahmadu Bello, Obafemi Awolowo, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, all the bigwigs were over there in the UK, and they had a meeting. It's just a conference, but it's more like a meeting, and they decided that the day of the independence is going to be October 1st, 1960, and they agreed on the constitution. But prior to that, there were a lot of hassles, and politicking. This side is saying that, and this side is saying this. But during that meeting, they were able to, collectively agree that Nigeria should get a federal constitution, and the Independence Day should be 1960. So the essence why I'm bringing this story is just to show you how important meetings are in our lives. You can't go about in a day without a meeting. Whatever you do, you have to meet someone. You can even schedule a meeting with yourself. Some people do it. They will say that I'm going to have a meeting with myself on so day, and they will book a date for that particular meeting, a venue and everything, and they will meet with themselves. This is the outline of my presentation. We're going to have an introduction about the author, overview of the book, summary of the book, key lessons from the book, some criticism from the book, conclusions, then there is a bonus point. So stick around to find out what that bonus point is, then reference. So the author, who is Brian Tracy? Many of us here are quite familiar with Brian Tracy, especially if you read many books on self-help, productivity, time management, because he has authored over 80 books throughout his life. Authors more than 80 books. Can you imagine to author more than 80 books? Mutum nawa ya publishing letter in cikin mu? Just one book. Not even me, right? But he has authored more than 80, and part of the books that were very, very successful were Eat That Frog and No Excuses. And I think in 2021 or 2, I think we read Eat That Frog. And it's a very, very, very good book. And it's talking about productivity, how you can improve your productivity. So if you have not read this, so that's 2 now. You can add Eat That Frog to this so that you can be able to learn more on Brian Tracy. He's the founder of and CEO of Brian Tracy International. He's a successful business person. He has his own company. He do give out seminars, conferences, trainings, and he's an author. He has delivered, like you can see, seminars to millions of people around the world. And he's known for, these are some of his key areas where he's an expert. He can be considered an expert on goal setting, time management, and personal development. That is why it's highly recommended to read some of his books. I remember some days ago, we were discussing with another person, and he said that he doesn't like to read Brian Tracy's book because most of the concepts or ideas he do present, they are kind of repetitive. You see it in one book and you see it in another book. So I told him that for me, I don't see it that way.
no matter how repetitive these ideas are, you'll still find some insight that are quite different from others. And even at that, you can still find, even if it is just one lesson, then it's okay to read an entire book just to get one lesson. It's okay, because one lesson can be the difference between being productive and being unproductive. So I told him that I read whatever interests me, and if I feel that something is going to improve myself, then I'll go about it. And at the end of the argument, he agreed that yes, it's good to read. So this is the book. This is the cover page. This is the title. It was published in 2016. These are the publishers, Amcon. So, and the genre is categorized as under business or self-help or personal development or whatever. And it's just have, and these pages is for the cover, hardcover, not e-copy that we read. It's just for the, so mostly the content of the book is not more than 100 pages. I tried to find how many copies he sold throughout, so there wasn't any data talking about that. So this is the ISBN, and this, look at the rating of the book. This averagely, I went to Amazon and Goodreads. I look at the reviews of other readers, and it's, you know, averagely 4.5 over 5. You see, that's a very good rating. You know that the book is very good. And it has 3 formats. There's the hard copy, the e-copy, and there's audio. Many of us are not familiar with audiobooks, and they are very, very good, especially someone that is very, very busy. So you can just plug in and be listening to the book. Before you know it, you read an entire book. So audiobooks, they are also available. So you can search for that and read. So is the summary of the book. In the first 1 or 2 chapters, he discussed on the importance of having meetings. Why do we meet? And there are many examples of different kinds of meetings in the book. For example, he said you can meet to share information or knowledge, you can meet for a training, you can meet for whatever. But ultimately, we are meeting to do what? Why do we meet? Anyone? Why do we meet? To solve our problems. Yes, essentially that's the reason why we are meeting. If you meet to share information, then why are you sharing the information? To solve a problem. So ultimately, the reason why we do meet is to solve our own problems. Then after the meeting, if you highlight some of the problems, you find solutions, then what do you do next? You decide. You decide. You have to make a decision. You can discuss all you want, but if you don't decide, then the meeting essentially is unproductive or useless. So that is why most of the meetings we do have here, they are unproductive. Because at the end of the day, you find it very difficult to pin out some of the decisions that you do take at the end of the meeting. So it's very important for us to have a meeting, find solutions, decide, and then collaborate after. Because you can't take these decisions alone. You need other members. That is why you do meet. You can meet with one person, with 2, with 10, with hundreds. It all depends. I'm just going to give you an example now. I work at Umar Musa Yar'Adua University, and in the university setup here in Nigeria, the Senate is the highest decision-making body. You do have the council, but when it comes to matters of academics, it's the Senate. That is where the degrees are issued. That is where the certificates are issued, timetable, whatever. Anything that has to do with academics, it's approved at the Senate. So at the Senate, you have other subcommittees. For example, you have the SBC, Senate Business Committee. And that is where results are discussed and approved. So at the SBC is a Senate committee. And Senate committee is Umar Musa Yar'Adua University committee, right? So you see where I'm getting at. You have the council, you have the Senate, then you have the SBC. SBC is under the Senate. So when the results are collected throughout a session or a semester or whatever, they will be presented at the Senate Business Committee. You have the chairman of the Senate Business Committee, the secretary. The chairman is usually the deputy vice academics, right? Deputy vice chancellor academics. That is the chairman. Then the secretary, academic secretary, is usually the secretary of the committee. So these are some of the committees you can form so that you can make implementations and pass on. So after the Senate Business Committee, their resolutions, whatever they arrive at, they will present it at the Senate. So after the presentations, they will deliberate on the outcome of their meetings, and then they will decide whether to approve or not to approve. If they see some discrepancies, then they will send it back to the Senate Business Committee so that they can go and look it and represent again. And after that, if it is approved, it will be sent to the secretary, to the secretariat. That is the registrar, who is the secretary of the Senate, right? I hope I'm making sense. I'm not just go. Okay. So then they will write resolutions. Resolutions. That is all the decisions that were taken at the Senate, and they will be shared within the university setup. Whoever has any interest or action is attached to him, then he will receive the Senate decision. So that is why it's very, very important for you to meet and discuss some of the solutions. And just like, do we have members, students of Umar Musa Yar'Adua University, undergraduate? You receive, do you know what the date of resumption? When is the date? 30th. Okay. So how did you know about the decision? Email, right? Okay. So before that decision was taken, there was a Senate meeting. There was a Senate meeting, I think yesterday. Co-doctor? Yes. Yesterday, there was a Senate meeting. And during that meeting, that was when they decide that they are going to reopen the university next week on the 30th of September. So this is how you can see how some of these things come in play. Then, secondly, you also need to take care of the preparations. When you decide you are going to have a meeting and you fix a date, then you have to start preparing for that meeting before, so that you can give advance notice to members so that they can also prepare. You can also prepare as someone who is conducting the meeting or who is responsible for organizing the meeting. So the preparations, during the preparations, you have to set a clear goal. What do you want to achieve during the meeting? And how do you set that goal? What do we do before you start a meeting? What do you do? Anyone? Agenda, yes. You set an agenda. So you have to write the agenda. This and this and this are what are going to be discussed. You can have as many items on your agenda. It doesn't matter. You can have 10, you can have 5, you can have 2. Some, for example, if you are going to have, for example, in university setup, when they are going to have a special meeting. So usually a special meeting, it does have only one item on the agenda. Because they are going to be, it's a special meeting, and it's focused on just one item. So anything else is not entertained. You are going there, you discuss on that one item, and you decide at the end of it, and you pass the resolutions. So you have to set your agenda. It has to be very clear. Whoever is going to be attending that meeting, when he reads your agenda, he will understand what you want to discuss. It has to be very, very clear. There's no room for error. It has to be absolutely clear. So when you set the agenda, usually you send it in advance. You send it in advance. If you are going to have a meeting, let's say next week, so usually you give room for others to prepare as well. You can send the agenda and the meeting invitation together. You can give out maybe 1 or 2 weeks notice so that people will prepare for that particular meeting. They will put their house in order so that when they come for the discussion, usually you are going to be, before you arrive at any decision, you have to discuss thoroughly so that the decision you are going to take is going to be very, very productive and effective. So you send the agenda in advance and you ensure that all members are truly prepared for that particular meeting. That is why when we are going to have most of the members of Readers Hub, they are aware we are going to be meeting every Thursday, right? We do meet every Thursday, 4:30. And if you are a member of the Readers Hub, you are quite familiar with that, and it's part of your routines. But we do send out our flyers so that you will be notified. This is what we are going to be discussing. For this session, we sent out our flyer yesterday, and with a caption, just to give you an overview of what is going to be happening today, so that you can prepare and come and make a productive meeting. Then next is starting a meeting. This is where you have to start your meetings on time. But unfortunately, we don't do that. I don't know, we have tried many solutions, but it just doesn't work. I don't know why. And it's part of the reason why we don't get results in our meeting. And in the book, he gave out an example. He said, if you don't start your meeting on time, then you are penalizing those who come on time, right? Someone would stop whatever he's doing. And if you say you are going to meet by 4:30, some will be there before even 4:30, right? But if you come, you see that there's maybe 5, or you are going to be meeting with at least maybe 100 people, and you realize that maybe there are just 20 people there. Then you just say, okay, let's just give them another 10 or 20 minutes, right? So essentially what you are doing is you are penalizing the people that come on time. Meanwhile, the other people that they don't care to come on time, you are giving them leverage. You are allowing them, you are giving them, yes, it's okay for you to miss your deadline. So next time you are going to call another meeting, the people that do come on time, they'll stop coming on time because they realize that they're just going to be wasting their time. So they'll just go about doing their own businesses and they will decide to come whatever time they decide to come. So it's very important for you, even if it is just one person or two people, start the meeting. When the people come in late, they realize that the meeting has started earlier, maybe 30 or 1 hour, and they are 1 hour or 30 minutes late, and they'll start scrambling. They'll ask you maybe to just give them an overview of what you have discussed before they arrive, and refuse to do that. So that next time, when you invite them to a meeting by 4:30, you'll be there by 4:30. So then he said, introduce agenda and encourage participation. Like I have mentioned in the first point, it's very important for you to send out your notice and agenda so that you allow people to prepare for that meeting. So if you don't give them something to leverage, then how can they participate in the meeting? If you are going to a meeting and they just invite you to a meeting and you don't know what is going to be discussed, then you can't research on that particular subject. But if they give you the agenda, you look at it and then you can make your own research and come and make your own contributions. The essence of inviting people to a meeting is so that you can have diverse ideas, right? If it is just one idea, then it may not work. It may work and it may not work. But if you have diverse people, they have their own different experiences, different backgrounds, they can contribute to that particular idea and they can reshape it and make it better, and you can have a better resolution. So on this, I'm just going to share a story so that I can give you a context of what we are discussing here. My dad, he told me that there was a time when he was still active in public service and they were invited to a meeting. And you know how Nigerians we do, we like to brag and say some flattery things about ourselves, right? And during that meeting, they were discussing a particular idea or concept or whatever before they arrived at the discussion. And it was a very heated debate. Everyone was just trying to put across his own ideas, and they were debating and debating. It was very difficult for them to arrive at a decision. So the chairman now, he said, I want a meeting in my unit chairman, I can decide on my own. I don't even need your own input. and they were shocked with what he said, with his statement, and many were just trying to question what he's trying to arrive at. And my dad, he told him that no, ba haka bane ba. He said, ya zaka ce? Yace yes, that's not true, because if what you are saying is true, then you wouldn't have invited us to the meeting. You can just decide on your own. But since you invited us to the meeting, then we have to discuss and we have to arrive at a decision that every member of this meeting is comfortable with that. And with that, he now came down and the discussion continued, and they arrived at a decision, and they moved on to the next item on the agenda. So the reason why I'm sharing these stories is for two things. One is for context, then two is for you to understand that whenever you are invited to a meeting, you are invited there as a representative. You have to go there. You can't just go there and sit and wait for others to make resolutions while you're just sitting there. If you're just sitting there, you're not making contribution to the meeting, then why are you there? Why are you there? So whenever you are invited to a meeting, the first thing you should do is ask, what is the meeting about? What are we going to be discussing? Next, when is the time of the meeting? If they have an agenda, ask for the agenda. If not, ask for a brief. Let them tell you what you are going to be discussing so that you can prepare ahead of time. We are going to see the reason why I'm telling you this at later time on the discussion. So then the conduct of the meeting. Like I've mentioned earlier, it's very, very important for you to participate, to encourage others to participate. As the chairman of the meeting, you can't just sit and decide on your own. It's not a speech contest. You are there to discuss, right? You are there to discuss thoroughly on and find solutions to some of the problems that you are facing, right? So encourage your other members. Even if you feel that maybe they are shy or most people, we have something, we can make contributions. So encourage others to speak up. Don't just dominate the entire proceedings. Invite people, even if they are not ready to speak. Maybe you can assign roles during the meeting. You can point fingers, just like what we do in our classrooms, right? We have teachers here, right? They just point at someone. Okay, you give us the answer. The reason why is for just to have, different kind of ideas and to encourage others to feel part of the meeting. Is that you are there for a reason. You're not just there to just sit and wait for others to make a resolutions. In Nigeria, usually, I'm okay with that. No, you're not okay with that. If you say you're okay with that, it means that you don't have anything to contribute to that meeting. And in that book, he said that if you sit and you don't make any contributions, it means that you don't have anything to contribute. So always make your own contributions. Then address conflict and manage time effectively. How do you address conflict, and how do you manage your time effectively? How do we address, if you have a conflict in a meeting, how do you address that? We have all been to one meeting or another, and we have all witnessed one conflict or another. So what are the methods that we do apply to try to manage the situation before it escalated? What are some of the techniques? Let's learn from each other. Engineer. Wajen side meeting ba ana dan samun abin da ba dan gwabza. Ai sama kai ka ce ga yanda za a yi, shi kuma labor ya ce ga yanda za a yi. So how do you manage to resolve some of this conflict?
So most of the time, you have person like the organizer, the leader of the meeting.
Yes.
You just call attention of everyone and say maybe one house so that everyone can come down settle.
Yes. I think just to add to what engineer said, just let everybody speak. But always try to maintain decorum. If someone else is speaking, then let's allow that person to come to a point. But if you're all speaking at the same time, then there are very chances that nobody is listening to anyone, and it can erupt quickly, very quickly. So the solution is just try to manage the situation. Ask everyone to just calm down. Listen to them one after the other. By listening to them, you understand where they are coming from, the points they are trying to make. Then by comparing the two ideas or discussions, then you can be able to make a resolution based on what they have submitted. So it's very, very important for you to listen to your members. Then time management. How do we effectively manage time during meetings? How do we do that? Usually when you set your agenda, you will see that there is time attached to the agenda, right? You give out time. As someone who is organizing the meeting or the chairman of the meeting, you assign time for each item on the agenda. Each item. So that before you even start the meeting, if you are part of the item on the agenda and you are about to speak, to give out a report or a meeting or whatever, then you will know that you are given maybe 5 or 10 minutes to that. So you can prepare your report for the time that you are allotted so that you can effectively deliver without wasting other people's time. And another priority is you have to start on time. Because even if you attach time to your agenda, if you don't start on time, then there's very high chance of you not managing your time effectively. Because you started, if you, for example, you say you are going to start your meeting by 4:30 or by 5, and you're going to stop by 6:30 or 6:20, or let's say 6:15. So you have already allotted time for all the items on the agenda, and the final item is on 6:15. And you don't start your time, you don't start your meeting until maybe if you are about, if on the agenda you are about to start by 4:30, you don't start by 4:30. Let's say you start by 5. So you are just trying to recover 30 minutes. And we're all Muslims here, right? We know that by 6:30 it's time for Maghrib prayer. So how do you recover 30 minutes when you just have a room for just 15 minutes? So you are going to rush the meeting. You're not going to discuss some of the concepts or ideas thoroughly. So it means that some of the decisions that you're going to take in that meeting, they are faulty because you haven't discussed them entirely or thoroughly. So that is why it's very important for you. If you want to manage your time, it's very important to start the meeting on time so that you can manage the time of the meeting. Then the final conclusion on the book is conclusion of the meeting and follow-up. Summarize the key points and clarify actions in the meeting. Usually when you discuss in a meeting, for example, you do have your own agenda. There's a secretary attached to every meeting, and he's taking the minutes of the meeting. That's the proceedings of the meeting, right? So if you discuss any item, you have to make a decision. And it's part of the job of that secretary to record that decision accurately. Right? You, as also members of the meeting, you can also come with your own notes so that you can take notes of some of the decisions. So before you move to the next item on the agenda, then you have to agree. You go back, what was the decision on particular item? What did we decide? You say it out so that everyone will hear and agree that that was the decision that you take before you move on to the next item on the agenda. So you can see how you can manage your time effectively and ensure that there is clarity during your own meeting. The next is you also ensure accountability by defining responsibilities. Like I told you, when you come to a meeting, you are going there to solve a particular problem that is bedeviling you, right? So you are going to make decisions and you are going to attach responsibilities. For example, now, if we come to, let's say now we are having a meeting and we are discussing, let's say, about how we can mitigate the impact of fuel subsidy, for example, right? And we agree that we are going to ensure that every filling station in Katsina is dispensing fuel. If you have, then you must dispense. So if you come to that decision, what do you do next? You have to attach responsibility to particular, maybe you create a subcommittee of people that are going to be responsible for that. So the people, you're going to call out the people, you all agree that these are the people who are going to ensure that this is going to be happening, so that when you are coming next to a meeting, you hold them accountable for what you have observed. If, for example, they were not able to achieve the target, then they are going to explain why they were unable to achieve the target. So it's very important for you to assign tasks and responsibilities so that you know who is responsible for what, right? Then finally, you distribute the minutes of the meeting. Check on progress of action and items. Like I mentioned earlier, for example, in Umar Musa, I said that the Senate is the highest decision-making body on academic issues. So usually when you meet, you read out at the beginning of each meeting, you read out the minutes of the previous meeting, so that you know that you are on the same page on whatever you have discussed during the previous meeting. Then you go item by item. That's what we call matters arising, right? So you look at the matters arising. What were the decisions that you took during the previous meeting, and what happened? What did we do with the decisions? So this is how you go about checking the progress. You look at the matters arising. We have attached responsibilities to so person or so subcommittees. And what did they do? Decision has been transmitted to them, and they have done this and that, and they will report back. And the minutes, usually it's not a rule, but it's advisable for you to distribute the minutes after 24 hours. If you conclude a meeting, you are expected to distribute the minutes of the meeting not more than 24 hours. The reason why 24 hours is given is, usually when you are recording the minutes, there's high chance that maybe you may forget something. But within that 24 hours, you may be able to remember some of the things that you have forgotten, and you include them in the meeting. But it's very important for you to distribute the minutes not more than 24 hours after the meeting. So this is just the summary of what the entire content of the book, Meeting That Get Results. So these are some of the lessons that I have learned from the book. It spoke about clear objectives. Clear objectives. He said, before you start the meeting, it's very important for you to read out your objectives. What do you want to achieve during the meeting? That's very, very important. If you don't have clear objectives, then you'll just be discussing, and you'll just be moving from one end to another without, clearly understanding why you are meeting. So it's very, very important for you to have clear objectives. Then another lesson is preparation and agenda. Preparation and agenda. By preparing ahead of time, you'll be able to understand, maybe you have missed something. I remember 2 or 3 years ago, I was assigned as a secretary of, I think, either SBC or Senate. I can't quite remember. And I was very, very relaxed in making my own preparations. And suddenly, they told me that I have to call a meeting tomorrow. So that day, I stayed after working hours, and I think I even prayed Isha at the office. I was just trying to prepare. And when the meeting was conducted, I realized that I have mixed up many of the papers, many of the documents, because I was just rushing, trying to make up all the time that I have missed previously and trying to present the documents. So I mixed some of the documents during the copies, because you have to make copies for members of the of the meeting and distribute during the meeting. So it's very, very important for you to prepare ahead of time. If you know that you are going to be meeting, then start preparing even before the time is assigned, even before the venue or time is assigned. Then another important preparation is the venue of a meeting. Where are you going to be meeting? You have to decide where are you going to be meeting, and you have to go there and ensure that everything is set for that particular meeting. And in the book, Brian Tracy, he gave out a scenario where they were going to be meeting on a business discussion, and they decided on a venue, which was a particular hotel. So they went there for the meeting. When they started the meeting, it was after they started the meeting they realized that another wedding event was going on just the next hall after their own venue. So there were loud musics, and it was very, very difficult for them to even discuss and understand each other because of the loud music that is coming from the other hall. So he said it's very, very important for you to go there and assess. If you are giving out instructions, don't just say that you have paid and you are okay with that. Even not formal meetings. We do have events, right, for wedding, dinner, luncheon, and what have you. So even after you have paid the caterer, you have paid the decoration guy, even the hall, go there and inspect the venue. Make sure that what they say they are going to be doing, make sure that they are doing it. And I'm going to give you another example. Sometime we were discussing with a politician, and he told me that they organized a meeting, and that meeting was considered as opposition to the ruling party. So they were looking for a ways to try to stop the meeting, but they know that they cannot stop the meeting. It's not illegal for you to meet, right? If you have all the conditions, you have met all the conditions for you to meet, then you are allowed to meet. So they can't stop them officially. So what did they do? They tried to sabotage the sound system. So, but they didn't know that. They went for the meeting. They gathered many people. I think there were over 1,000 people for that particular meeting. And when it came for the key speaker to give out his speech, and they realized that the sound system was just out, and they didn't make any provisions for extra. So you see how just a key element can stop you from meeting. And he said at the end of the day they couldn't meet. They just have to reschedule the meeting because of that just one item, sound system. Because if you don't have sound system, you can imagine a hall of over 1,000 people. How can you address them? It's virtually impossible, right? So it's very important for you to consider all the items, your visuals. If you are going to give out presentations, check the projector or the computer. We have had many issues, even here at the Readers Hub with our technical department.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Oga Faisal, for the presentation. Actually, the book is very important. And looking at the nature of how we do meetings, it seems we waste too much time in doing meetings because of a lot of back and forth during the meetings. The little contribution I want to make in short period of time is two, basically. One, about managing time. When you have the agenda beforehand and you have the time set for the meeting, so as a leader that is leading that particular meeting, even if you didn't state it categorically, you have to have it in mind that you are spending so minutes discussing this particular issue. So once it is that time and you have had enough from people, you shouldn't continue dragging about the issue. Some Islamic scholars said, based on the verse in the Quran, فَإِذَا أَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. So when you do your best, leave the rest to the Lord. When you have gathered at least enough, number of evidences, as a leader, you can take stand based on those evidences and move. And while moving, if somebody is going to contribute and is trying to take you back, tell him that no, if you are talking about this, we are done with it. We are moving to the next thing. This will help you in managing time properly. And lastly, regarding the issue of addressing conflict, is an issue that, yes. So usually what brings conflict is when you are discussing an agenda, discuss the agenda. That is what a terminology we use in conflict management. Separate people from issues. When you are discussing issues, discuss issue. Don't discuss personalities. And don't be looking for fault just for the sake of looking for fault. During meetings, you are not competing again. It's not a matter of you want to bring an idea and your idea must be adhered to. No. You are discussing. It's just brainstorming. It's like you are trying to view something. Somebody is viewing it from left. The other person is viewing it from right. Someone is viewing from top. Someone is viewing from bottom. Somebody is viewing from 60 degrees. Okay? So and it's all your views. When you put them together, you get the 360-degree view, of the whole idea. So it's not about competition. Listen to the ideas. Discuss the idea. Don't discuss personality. Don't say during the meeting, even the last meeting, that is what you did. You were here discussing this and this. So, it will bring a lot of tension. And then, when you bring reasons, when somebody brings reason, if you want to criticize it with decorum. When you do that, there won't be any conflict. You bring an idea, appreciate the idea, and mention some of the limitations of that idea, and propose a new idea. When you keep this, you start by appreciating the idea, and then you bring a new perspective and indicate how it is going to be more important and more, than the previous one. So when you do that, it will be very difficult to be getting, these issues. And then, conflict. Then, finally, the language you use, you have to learn about it, because I don't want to take time, but I encourage us to learn about how to influence. Because when you have an idea that you want to sell, it's about influencing. There's a whole lot of books you need to learn about how you can influence people to act or to accept idea from you, whether they like it or not. Thank you.
I'm Amin Khalil. Good evening once again. Being here to contribute, Madam also almost recap all what I want to say, but nevertheless, I will share some things to benefit each other. The way of addressing conflict, in my own view, it is even the same as the Madam's view. We are to respect one another's opinions. Before you argue with someone, you should start personally appreciate his opinion. As our guest scholar is saying in person of Imamuna Shafi, he said, رأيي ثواب يحتمل الخطأ ورأي غيري خطأ يحتمل الثواب. My opinion is right. That is even the reason why I choose it. But it can contain a molecule of mistakes. An opinion of my opponent is a mistake. That is even the reason why I didn't choose it. But it can contain a molecule of truth. So that is what I want to share. So we should appreciate one another opinions. That is all what I want to share. Thank you very much.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you, Mr. Dammasani, and our mentor, Dr. Suleiman Bello, and my brother that just contributed. Mine is caution. I'm struggling to know between the virtual meeting and normal meeting that we used to conduct, physical meeting, which one is more effective? Because I'm experiencing some problems. When the meeting is virtual, I don't used to take it serious. But if the meeting is physical, I used to take it serious, because it is hardly Dr. Suleiman Bello to conduct a meeting without without refreshment.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My name is Bello Kabir. I am member of the Leaders Hub. Leaders Hub is an intellectual hangout reading club with a vision to inculcate reading culture and literacy. And the Leaders Hub is an organization which, develop and improve our community. Leaders Hub is a club which I believe if other states can imitate or can copy and have their own Leaders Hub, especially northern part of Nigeria where we lack what we call orientation and mentorship. So people a lot can benefit, and we will have a lot of people that are very, very good in different aspects in life, be it from entrepreneurship, be it like engineering, medical, everything, whatever you pursue in your life. If you come to Leaders Hub, you will have somebody who have already succeeded in that field. So that person will mentor you and guide you and show you the way out. This is the beauty of the Leaders Hub. And what we prioritize the Leaders Hub is reading. That's why the name of the club is Readers Hub. And you all know how reading is important. Readers are leaders. That's Readers Hub. Thank you so much. We do hope that in the next 5 years, we will have Readers Hub in the entire Nigeria. Every state have their own Readers Hub.
Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and comment in the comment section. You can also drop which part of the book interests you the most. Thank you very much.